In this video, we will discuss routing priorities. Routing priorities is a list of rules that live on your routing group. These priorities are evaluated top to bottom when generating a PO for an order to determine the source or sources in which to fulfill the order. These routing priorities can be configured by going to Settings, Orders, and clicking on the Routing button. Keep in mind if you have different routing groups or more than one routing group, you will have to set your priorities accordingly inside of each routing group. To view your routing priorities, click into your routing group and you can see them here. The 5 routing priorities are single source, lowest cost, preferred sources, has shipping policy mapped, and closest margin. You can adjust the order of your routing priorities by clicking on these 3 lines and dragging and dropping in your corresponding order that you want. Remember that this is looked at and prioritized from a top down. Single source will look through all of your enabled sources and try to find one source that can fulfill the entire order. Lowest cost will take into account estimated shipping cost, drop ship fees, and the cost of the items of the order and pick the supplier that has the lowest cost and route to them. Preferred sources will take a look at the list below, in which you can set a priority in what sources receive your orders. You can use the lines here to adjust the ranking, and this is also read from top to bottom, top being the number 1 preferred source. Has shipping policy mapped will look for sources that have a shipping method associated with the shipping policy on the order. Closest margin will look for the source that is closest to the shipping address provided on the order. Always remember, if you hover over these question marks, there are little tooltips to give you a reminder of what each priority represents. You may have noticed the preferred and required toggles that live on the single source and has shipping policy mapped priorities. For example, on single source, if this was required and there wasn't a source that was one single source that was able to fulfill the entire order, that would be placed on hold for your review. If it was preferred, then the system is going to try and route the order to one single source. But if that is not accomplishable, that priority will be skipped and it will move to the next priority. You may have also noticed the margin fields on lowest cost and closest margin. On lowest cost, if 2 sources have a total cost that is within the margin you set here of each other, that priority will be skipped and it will move on to the next priority. For closest margin, the source is only deemed closest if that source is closer to the shipping address than all the other potential sources by at least the margin that you place here. The last few things I want to speak on in this video are the shipping address override, suppress tracking settings, as well as the enabled toggle. These settings are global to the order routing process and are not directly correlated to the preferred sources rule. The shipping address override setting can be used if, for instance, you're looking to have these orders shipped to your warehouse instead of the shipping address on the order. You can enter that information here and save it. If you don't want tracking to be synced back to your channel, you can check off the suppress tracking button like so, and this will accomplish that goal. The enabled toggle essentially tells you whether that source is able to receive POs or not. If this is not toggled on, no POs will ever be generated for that source. Thank you for watching this video on routing priorities, and if you have any other questions, please reach out to our support team and we'll be happy to assist you.